Hitler, you probably didn't even hate the Jews. That was just the meth making you crazy, dog.
Both of you, get back in the closet. You deserve a fucking ass whooping. All of you, get back in the closet. Go fuck yourself.
How much does it cost for fascism? How much do the taxpayers have to pay for a fascist country?
They're evil. They are actively doing evil. So treat them like the evil that they are.
The right to exist argument has been used now to the point where what it's going to mean is that the Israel you're talking about will include the annexed and illegally occupied West Bank. It's very interesting, the Israeli government has never said where it thinks the borders of Israel really ought to be and what it would settle for. I think it would be an immense help if it tells us where it thinks Israel's boundaries should be. Every other country does do that.
It's time to stop pretending otherwise. It's time to be ruthless and time to afford them the same amount of grace that they give to their Palestinian victims, because they are only going to get more and more ruthless with their victims if you don't.
One, two. That's why we do a mic check. Welcome. We'll start with just general headlines and then go into more specific stories from there.
Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Trump's meeting today at the White House with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and the leaders of Britain, Germany, France, Finland, and Italy, as well as NATO Chief Mark Rutte and the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. This comes 3 days after Trump met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska, but failed to secure a peace agreement. Ahead of the Alaska summit, Trump had vowed Russia would face very severe consequences if Putin did not agree to stop the war, but Trump then dropped his call for a ceasefire. Putin's insisting on Ukraine giving up the eastern Donbass as a condition for ending the war. Putin spoke Friday.
But at the same time, we are convinced that for the Ukrainian settlement to be sustainable and long-term, all the root causes of the crisis, which have been discussed repeatedly, must be eliminated. All of Russia's legitimate concerns must be taken into account, and a fair balance in the security sphere in Europe and the world as a whole must be restored. I agree with President Trump. He spoke about this today. That, of course, Ukraine's security must also be ensured.
Putin and Trump did not take any questions after giving brief remarks. On Sunday night, Trump posted a message online saying, quote, Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight, unquote. Trump said Zelensky must give up on joining NATO or reclaiming Crimea, which Russia annexed in 2014. Trump officials have floated the idea of the U.S. offering Ukraine some sort of security guarantee. Meanwhile, Zelensky's accused Putin of trying to humiliate diplomatic efforts by launching attacks over the past day that killed at least 10 people, including 3 children in Kharkiv and Zaporizhzhia. The U.S. State Department's halted all visitor visas from Gaza, including for children who need urgent medical care. The move was announced Saturday, one day after far-right...
This is going to kill even more people who are already struggling to get travel approval from the IDF.
Activist Laura Loomer posted a video complaining that injured Palestinian children are coming to the United States for care. The U.S.-based Palestine Children's Relief Fund decried what it called a, quote, dangerous and inhumane decision, unquote. The group said...
Oh, it's a lethal decision. You can call it that, for sure.
Said, quote, medical evacuations are a lifeline for the children of Gaza who would otherwise face unimaginable suffering or death due to the collapse of medical infrastructure in Gaza, unquote. In more news from Gaza, Amnesty International has accused Israel of carrying out a, quote, deliberate campaign of starvation that's, quote, systematically destroying the health, well-being, and social fabric of Palestinian life, unquote. At least 263 Palestinians have now starved to death amidst the Israeli blockade. Meanwhile, Israel's intensifying its attacks on Gaza City as it moves to forcibly evict the city's entire population. On Sunday, an Israeli airstrike hit Al-Ahli Hospital in Gaza City, killing at least 7 people. Hamas has accused Israel of engaging in a new wave of genocide and displacement over its plans to relocate all residents of Gaza City. This is a Palestinian medical student in Gaza City who sent this voice memo to a colleague in the U.S.
I just wanted to die right now. I think it's the only way I will find relief.
He just wants to die. This is... Where's the world while this is happening?
I don't want to be this place again, maybe.
Look at the tents.
I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
My God. Nauseating.
I wish I could see you soon, even just for a moment, and hug you before I die.
Israel's Channel 12.
You know how there were letters recovered during the Holocaust? Well, now we have voice memos. We have recordings of people on the phone. It's even more vivid. So where's the world?
12 has aired leaked
Where's their humanity?
recordings of Israel's former military intelligence chief saying 50 Palestinians must die for every victim of October 7th. In the recording, Aharon Haliva is heard saying, quote, "It does not matter now if they are children."
Get a good look at the Nazis of our age.
He said, quote, "They need a Nakba every now and then to feel the price," unquote. In Israel, over half a million...
That's interesting to imply that the Nakba never stopped.
million protested in Tel Aviv Sunday to demand an end to the war in Gaza and for the Israeli government to reach a deal to free the hostages in Gaza. Over 1 million Israelis took part in protests across the country as the families of Israeli hostages called for a nationwide day of stoppage. This is Lishay Maran Levy, the wife of Omri Maran, who is being held in Gaza.
Whoa, I think they kind of glossed over that, but look at that crowd. It keeps going. I'll turn off my cam. Look at that. It keeps going, dude. On and on. Watch as it pans out.
This is Lishay Maran
Whoa.
Levy,
Did you see that?
the wife of Omri Maran, who is being held in Gaza.
God damn.
We decided to call to everyone in Israel, to all the citizens, to stop. Take a day and
Welcome to
stop
the stream.
all the country in one saying, please release the hostages, bring them home, and stop the war. We are really caring about our dear that over there. My own is over there 681 days. I miss him. Our daughters, Ronnie and Alma, really miss him. And I really scared and afraid about his life. I want him here and I want all the hostages here.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blasted the protesters, saying, quote, "Those who call to end the war, delay the hostages' release, and guarantee that the horrors of October 7th will return," unquote. We'll have more on the protests later in the broadcast. The Trump administration's expanding its takeover of Washington, D.C., with the Republican governors of
Just horseshit. Like, I don't even feel like it's worth the energy of debunking anything that comes out of Netanyahu's mouth. He's just... Everything he says is a fucking lie. Full stop.
West Virginia, Ohio, and South Carolina agreeing to send at least 700 additional National Guard troops to D.C. In a major shift in policy, NPR reports National Guard troops in the nation's capital may soon be carrying weapons. Meanwhile, the Trump administration's backed down from its plan to install the head of the Drug Enforcement Administration as D.C.'s emergency...
I feel like there's an old saying that goes like, if you have to enforce your will with the sword, it's like, I don't know. I don't remember.
Police chief
Basically, if you have to enforce your will with force, it's not a very good... You don't really have a good set of policies, do you? Like, if you need people to accept your point at the barrel of a gun, it's not a very good point.
After D.C. sued U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. This comes as video has gone viral of 6 masked federal officers detaining and tackling a food delivery driver after he left a coffee shop in Northwest Washington Saturday morning. The officers violently tackled the man, Christian Enrique Carias Torres of Venezuela, to the ground and appeared to use a stun gun on him. He was then taken away in an unmarked car as bystanders screamed at the officers. On Saturday, thousands of protesters marched to the White House to condemn Trump's takeover of Washington, D.C.
Troops on the corner, feds on the block. Troops on the corner, feds on the block. The fascist takeover must be stopped. The fascist takeover must be stopped.
New York immigration advocates are demanding the release of a 7-year-old elementary school student who was taken into custody along with her 19-year-old brother and their mother at a routine check-in with ICE at 26 Federal Plaza in Manhattan last week. This is the first known ICE arrest of a New York City child under the age of 18 during Trump's second term. The city reports the girl and her mother were transferred to a newly reopened family detention camp in Dilley, Texas, while the teen was sent to the troubled Delaney Hall ICE jail in Newark, New Jersey. The family is from Ecuador and lives in Queens. This comes as some Democratic lawmakers are calling for New York Governor Kathy Hochul to shut the power off at 26 Federal Plaza to stop what they call ICE's occupation of the building. CNN is reporting the U.S. military is deploying more than 4,000 Marines and sailors to the southern Caribbean, along with nuclear-powered attack sub...
Is this what we've resorted to shutting off the power in order to drive out a Gestapo occupying areas in your city? We're seeing like a clash of internal municipalities, it seems like.
Marine spy aircraft, several destroyers, and a guided missile cruiser. The move comes...
Whoa, Amy. Hold it. What the fuck?
...of the building. CNN is reporting the U.S. military is deploying more than 4,000 Marines and sailors to the southern Caribbean, along with nuclear-powered attack submarines, spy aircraft, several destroyers, and a guided missile cruiser. The move comes after...
Oh, is this because of the heightened tensions with Mexico? Is that why you're moving a fucking fleet? Including submarines? What are we doing?
President Trump signed a secret directive authorizing the use of military force to carry out operations in Latin America under the guise of targeting drug cartels.
Oh my God.
Congressional budget...
I wonder what they're actually trying to do, like regime change or just suppressing other countries? What?
Office has confirmed President Trump's new budget law will trigger over $500 billion.
It's literally just lines of verbiage that keeps Trump from drone striking people on American soil. I mean, that's an Obama era directive that under the Patriot Act you can declare anyone a threat to national security, and I think they almost did that with Chris Dorner. Like, they were playing with that idea, but instead they burned down the cabin he was in.
In Medicare cuts in coming years. Democratic Representative Brendan Boyle of Pennsylvania said, quote, Republicans knew their tax breaks for billionaires would force over $500 billion in Medicare cuts, and they did it anyway, he said. The Republican law also includes $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts. In northwestern Pakistan and Kashmir, at least 337 people have died in climate change-induced flash floods. Dozens of people remain missing as landslides partially buried at least 10 villages. In Bolivia, two right-wing candidates are headed for a presidential runoff in October. The results of Sunday's election end more than a generation of rule by the socialist MAS party, which stands for Movement for Socialism. The Bolivian Senator Rodrigo Paz, the son of a former Bolivian president, placed first in Sunday's vote and will face off against the former right-wing president Jorge Tuto Quiroga, who finished second. Former Bolivian President Evo Morales, who was barred from running, urged his supporters to deface their ballots in protest. In the end, 19% of the ballots were deemed to be invalid. The official candidate from the MAS party won just over 3% of the vote.
Deface your ballot in protest is so funny. I just imagine people just like...
Barely enough for the party to keep its legal standing as a national party. El Salvador's government will continue to detain more than 80,000 people accused of being gang members and swept up under President Nayib Bukele's state of emergency. Salvadoran lawmakers voted Friday to extend their imprisonment for at least 2 more years without trial, even as prosecutors have not yet presented any evidence linking tens of thousands of people to gangs. Protests broke out in the capital San Salvador, with the families of detainees calling for their relatives' release and an end to Bukele's state of emergency. This is a Salvadoran mother whose son is being detained.
My son has been there for 4 years. On May 10th, he completed 3 years, and now he's entering his 4th. Now I hear the news. They're saying there's a 2-year extension for him. How many more years do they have to hold him? Why do they give me this and not release him?
And the longtime Florida radio and TV host Rob Lorai has died at the age of 70. He was among the founding members of WMNF Community Radio in Tampa, where he worked for over 35 years. Rob Lorai appeared on Democracy Now! A number of times, including in 2009, when we broadcast Democracy Now! From Tampa.
So, frankly, I wonder about the model of public broadcasting, whether or not, relying on those local donations, relying on CPB funding for a small fraction of the funding, whether or not that's a good model. I often look over at England and look at those licenses that people pay for radio and television and think, wouldn't that be a better way to fund broadcasting? We wouldn't have to go hat in hand to Congress every year and ask for a small appropriation.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for watching Democracy Now!
No, I don't think having a paywall, or maybe it's not a paywall, but it's publicly funded through taxes. I mean, well, that's how it was removed in the first place, but yeah, paywall for public broadcasting I don't think is a good idea. It's just not great. To wrap up Gaza updates, I was gonna check out the Electronic Intifada and Drop Site News. I haven't checked in with them in a while. I have. This is a pretty old sub list. Let's go. I'm not even sub to Drop Site. It's just been kind of just a lot of fallout about the over the assassination of Anas al-Sharif. So much. I mean, some of these I can't even show you. I probably can't even mouse over some of them. I can show you this. only able to retrieve people after 44 days is crazy. I can't show you the whole video of this, but it is really harrowing. Basically, he is showing the bodies of 2 children, and their cousin shows up to identify them. I'm now standing in front of the bodies of 2 young children who were killed in the recent massacre of a school. This is a child who is no more than 1.5 years or 2 years old. This is also a small child killed in this inhumane way. For 2 years, I've been saying to the world, for what have these people been killed? For 2 years, I've been saying to the world, what crime do these children commit to be killed? This kid is in pieces. There's his cousin. A little child who is torn apart. What is his fault that he should be killed? If the world and the living conscience do not act, who is this? We will be killing. We will witness more killing. Children being killed in Gaza. You have to protect humanity from this injustice. Protect the children of Gaza from this injustice. Protect the children of Gaza from this injustice. He's my cousin. This is another instance of retrieving bodies after 44 days. Does the world have a conscience? Is there a conscience to humanity? Any humanity in this world, so them to accept for us to gather our children, gather our family, gather our women, gather them as skeletons. In which law? In which religion? In which conscience? In what humanity? Gathering our children from under the rubble as remains. This has never happened in the 21st century, but in Gaza, history will record. In Gaza, we get our victims out from under the rubble as remains, as skeletons. But we get them so that we may bury them in the ground. But this still remains a disgrace, a mark of disgrace on the forehead of every person who speaks of humanity. A disgrace. Of everyone who speaks in the name of human rights. By God, if a zoo was exposed to any of these circumstances, the whole world would turn upside down. But if 60,000 people in Gaza did not move the world, 32 people were killed in the Al-Dudar family home. If this didn't move the conscience, then when will the conscience of humanity move? That was on the 14th. There are several posts like that. This is the brother. No. Yeah. The brother of martyred journalist Anas al-Sharif, revealed in an interview with Al Jazeera Mubashir that 4 days before his assassination, Al Jazeera was offered, or Anas was offered a tempting deal, one which he firmly rejected. The offer was to stop his coverage from Gaza in exchange for leaving Gaza. Anas refused outright, choosing instead to continue reporting the truth until his final breath. He said, "Brother, I was given an offer that was about 4 days ago. It's the most recent. I was given an offer to travel, my wife, my children, even the rest of my family and I. Offers that required either no money or had a monetary price. He told me that he completely refused. He told me that for 2 whole years, he's been delivering his message and the message of his people, the message of my people, and I will never abandon the people. When they're in this situation, I won't destroy my journalistic mission just so I can travel. If I wanted to, I could travel today, but no. I'm here in Gaza, and I will stay in Gaza. He's a hero. Either I live and I see the end of the war, or I die a martyr. Otherwise, I have no other choice, no other decision. Whatever God decrees will happen." Truly fearless. I have to take these off the screen before I show you. Right, that was the moment that he was pulled from the bombing site. He was camped alongside a hospital. I can't show this one, but it is of an ambulance being used as a hearse, an overloaded hearse. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 martyrs piled on top of each other, with injured poised on like the wheel well and a shelf so that they're not lying directly on top of the dead. I definitely can't show that. Corpses of emaciated babies. I just want to document the crimes, because this is... shit. Here is an Israeli gunboat terrorizing a group of fishermen. They can't even fish. First moments of the occupation boats advancing and arresting fishermen off the coast of Gaza in broad daylight by Israeli occupation soldiers and taking them to an unknown location. Incriminating footage of the GHF. Throwing a flashbang into the crowd. I remember this one. It's their method of crowd dispersal. Here is aerial footage of Gaza. I encourage you to pause and take a look. This is the highest quality that I can get. You can tell from the shadows alone, like over here, how barren everything is. There is maybe 1% of usable and undamaged farmland remaining. So here you're also seeing the environmental impact that Israel has had. I didn't realize this was 10 minutes long. It's crazy. It's a lot of aerial footage to be taken. This area appears to be more intact, but correct me if I'm wrong, but am I seeing people attempt to farm the land within the city limits? Perhaps you can grow olive trees in a small area. I don't know anything about planting olives. A TRT World exclusive. I wonder if they have IDF personnel on board arguing with them right now. Okay, here's the coastline, so we at least have an idea of which way we're facing. So, north is this way. Pointing towards the play button, that's north. I feel like this is towards the south of the Gaza Strip. Oh, they're doing a lower pass. It looks like insulation. This completely, just the ruins of Gaza. It's just ruins. This is what genocide looks like if you don't round the people up first. You just kill them where they live. I can't take it, dude. I can't watch any more of this. It's nauseating. It goes on and on. This cameraman deserves an award for capturing these images. This is going to be used in, like, a war crime trial. Mark my words, this is going to be played at The Hague. I have no words. What the fuck is this? Executive Director of Israel's National Cyber Directorate was arrested this week in Las Vegas in child predator ring sting. This guy works directly under Netanyahu, so of course he was allowed to go back to Israel. Excellent work by Ryan Groom. felony charges of luring a child? His release and return to Israel. Israel is a haven for pedophiles. You can go there to escape crimes like that. It's wild. You should look it up. It's a whole thing. This was an anti-ICE TikToker being snatched out of her car on her own property. Kyle Kolinsky brought my attention to this. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers opened fire during a targeted immigration enforcement operation. That's the euphemism that they're using for abducting people. A targeted immigration enforcement operation. Calling it an act of self-defense after a man struck us with his vehicle, the Department of Homeland Security said. But the family inside said the vehicle said they drove away out of fear for their safety after masked men emerged in unmarked cars. Yeah, that's the kind of danger you're putting yourself in when you show up masked, emerging from unmarked cars, surrounded with trucks and weapons drawn, before smashing the truck's windows.
To the ICE Gestapo thugs. So Trump has given a green light to the ICE Gestapo thugs, and it's getting ugly out there. So as you know, Trump effectively, not only did he invade LA and federalize the National Guard and send in the Marines, now he invaded Washington, D.C. He wants to invade Chicago and New York City as well. And what do all those places have in common? Stop and think about it. What do all of those places have in common? Oh, that's right. They're left-wing. They're liberal. They're democratic. They're not red states, right? And so it's this very weird dynamic that we're witnessing where a Republican president is mass hiring a bunch of Republican, Proud Boy, fascist ICE Gestapo thugs and then invading blue cities and cracking skulls. So I'm about to walk you through all this here. Let's start with this one. According to the Associated Press, South Carolina and Ohio are also sending National Guard troops to D.C. in a further escalation of federal intervention in the city. So why are they doing this? Nobody knows. Nobody says. Because the fact of the matter is, there's no widespread pandemonium. There's no giant issue that needs to be addressed. There's no riots. There's no burning down of Walgreens and restaurants and shit. It's not happening. It's not happening. And so again, this is power for the sake of power. It's control for the sake of control. It's a dictator flexing his authority and reminding people who's boss and interrupting their lives too. By the way, as I reported the other day, we know that in the high crime areas of DC, that's not even where these federal law enforcement officials are. They're not even in the high crime areas. Now, even if they were, it still wouldn't make it okay. This is not your job. It's the job of police to do police shit. You're not supposed to invade U.S. cities. But having said that, they're not even in those areas. They're in the lower crime areas. And then that begs the question, well, what are they doing? Why? Why are they doing this? All right, so now I got a whole bunch of just nightmare scenarios to run for you here. So here we go to San Bernardino, and you have a family that was shot at by masked ICE Gestapo thugs. And let's watch. This is a wild, wild story. And I'll say it right now, but every single agent who was involved in this should lose their job and should be tried and locked up for this. This is unacceptable. What we're witnessing here is unacceptable. First of all, why are you even covering your fucking face? You're covering your face because you know what you're doing is illegal and it wouldn't stand up to legal scrutiny. That's why you're covering your face. And then they use that to get away with what they're doing. By the way, how are you even supposed to know if somebody is a federal official? If they're not showing their face, they're not showing their badges. Like, anybody could buy some fake fucking cop, uniform and then do this, and people wouldn't know the difference if it's somebody who actually is a Fed or not. You wouldn't know. So all these people who are scared, all these people who try to get away, it makes perfect fucking sense. All right, watch this, guys.
Now to that story on the shooting involving...
Yeah, the party of protecting children has never made it easier for child predators to abduct people.
Immigration agents. Tonight we're hearing from one of the people inside that vehicle when it happened.
There are still a lot of unanswered questions about what led up to this shooting. Eyewitness News reporter Annabelle Munoz is in San Bernardino with the latest.
Martin says he was working with his father-in-law and 18-year-old son-in-law this morning when their vehicle was suddenly surrounded by unmarked cars and masked men.
They hopped out with their pistols already drawn. Then they proceeded to ask us to lower the window and open the doors.
Martin stresses they asked, but masked agents did not identify themselves. They stay in the locked car as agents insist they come out. Moments later, they shatter 2 windows.
Hey, you can't do that! Once the glasses were shattered, my father-in-law feared for his life from his perspective, and so he I guess the car was already in drive, so he drove the vehicle away from where those agents were at.
3 gunshots can be heard.
Thank God the bullets didn't go through the truck. They just got stuck into the door.
A kid is really good at choosing his words carefully. He made a point not to incriminate his dad on camera by saying he drove towards them, saying he drove away from the situation. There you go. Good job, man.
They were aimed at my brother-in-law who was in the passenger front.
So, in other words, people would have fucking died if that car door wasn't as, strong as it was. That's insane, bro. In no way, shape, or form could you argue, oh, we feared for our lives, so we had to fire. No, you didn't. You started the problem. You caused all the problems. You broke the fucking windshield. You scared the shit out of these innocent people.
All this talk of, oh, you can't do that. Yes, they can. This is legalized terrorism. There's nothing that we can do about it. Except organize.
Families sought the help of San Bernardino police who arrived at their home.
We made a report with them. They told us FBI wasn't get in contact with us.
They say instead it turned into an hours-long standoff with several federal agencies showing up at their home. They say this officer seen pulling out a weapon during the vehicle stop is the same person who fired the gunshots.
He said, that he didn't shoot, sorry, that those 3 shots were him tapping on the glass. But we have bullet holes inside the vehicle now.
The Department of Homeland Security released a statement saying in part that during a vehicle stop, a subject refused to exit his vehicle and tried to run CBP officers down, saying he struck 2 officers with his vehicle, and that one officer had to discharge his firearm in self-defense. The video we reviewed does not show the driver trying to run the officers down. The agency did not answer our questions about why the driver was stopped or whether the agents had an administrative or judicial warrant. Community groups are calling for accountability.
It seems there to be a lot of impunity, and this might be, again, one of the cases where we can bring forward to courts and say this is what's happening, right? When you let loose an administration and an agency to just basically create their own rules.
Annabelle Munoz, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
So this is Stephen Miller's Nazi thugs. That's what we're witnessing here. These are Stephen Miller's Nazi thugs. Stephen Miller berated and dressed down ICE agents and said, what are you doing trying to go after gang members and cartel people? You should be going after, you should go to the 7-Eleven, you should go to the Home Depot, you should go to the hair salon. You need to, we're talking numbers here, guys. I care about quantity, not quality. In fact, remember how they disbanded the group, the agency that was specifically supposed to go after human trafficking? They disbanded them and said, hey, you guys actually go after the Home Depots like everybody else. And so here we are, covering their faces, no warrant whatsoever, illegal raids, going after innocent families, opening fire on random people. And by the way, why is a lot of this happening? Remember, they're expanding ICE massively. And a lot of these people that they're hiring are flat out white supremacists. Here's one example. Van Nuys, Home Depot, Balboa and Roscoe, CBP and HSI, potential attempted kidnappings and racially profiling community members. So here's this guy throwing up a hand sign, which was eventually picked up by white nationalists. Remember this? The OK symbol, where at first, obviously the OK symbol originally was just meant okay, but then they they sort of like took it over and started using it for white nationalist purposes. And in fact, we have a video here. Watch this.
How does it feel being a Nazi? How does it feel being a Nazi?
See? How does it...
Yeah, there's no argument against that. Just being a meme. Like, dude, it's too old to be a meme. Memes don't have that kind of shelf life. White nationalist dog whistles have that kind of shelf life.
Feel being a Nazi, and then he throws up that sign. It was literally in the context of a conversation about this person being a Nazi, and he throws up the Nazi sign, what came to be known as a white nationalist sign.
How does it feel being a Nazi? How does it feel being a Nazi? We don't want you here. Get the fuck. Are you doing? You are terrorizing our community. Do you feel happy about being a Gestapo? Do you feel happy about being a Gestapo? Do you feel happy about being a Gestapo? How do you feel being a Nazi? How do you feel being a Nazi? Do you guys feel proud being Nazis? Do you feel proud being a Nazi? Do you feel proud being a Nazi?
Let's not sugarcoat what this is, guys. Again, this is Trump expanded ICE, spending like $160 billion, some ridiculous number, on ICE, which makes it bigger than the Israeli military.
She's pretty brave because they could straight up assault her with no repercussions.
And what you have is, you have all these Proud Boys, white nationalists, red state extremists. They sign up to be with ICE, and then they get deployed in blue cities, and they start going after innocent people, rounding up brown people. It's basically like a civil war where only one side is fighting. That's what this is. It's a civil war where only one side is fighting, and that side is the red side, is the conservative side. And this is what it looks like. Illegal raids on innocent people on a daily basis. Again, the reason they're covering their faces is because they know what they're doing is illegal. How about this one? Federal agent in D.C. Quote, Proud Boys, they're great guys. They love the United States. We have it caught on video.
Thought the Proud Boys meet up with next weekend. Are you guys just a little early, just hanging out before, Proud Boys, they're great guys. Oh, they're great guys? Yeah. Oh, perfect. Federal agent, Proud Boys are great guys? They love the United States. This is perfect.
They just admit it.
Wow.
They just admit it. All right, we got more. This one's in D.C.
I can't. I think I saw this, actually.
Officers with vests that said, only police detained a man who seemed to have been riding on a moped, taking him down as passerby screamed. Officers refused to say...
We saw this during a Democracy Now! He was riding a moped? Yeah, he was a DoorDash delivery driver.
Sorry for being late, but I had engagement. Our contacts, our mediation efforts is continuing as we speak now, and we are talking with the Hamas, with the Israelis, and we're still pushing for a deal, based on Witkov proposal in order to move forward. And of course, we are categorically opposing any kind of intention of expansion of military intervention in Gaza. Our main objective is to go back to the original proposal, to have a ceasefire for 60 days and with release of some hostages and some Palestinian detainees, and the flow of humanitarian and medical assistance to Gaza without conditions, without restrictions. This is what we are trying to do. And
back to the original proposition. So just back to square one.
We will push very hard on that, and we still have some pending issues. We reached agreements on some issues, but we still have some pending issues. Of course, it's the end game to have a comprehensive approach with the main objective of ending this war and going for the next stage, which will be creating political horizon, which will be leading to the realization of the Palestinian state.
It could have been, you could have said that was like 2024 and I would have believed you. Holy shit. Don't recommend Vosh, please. What's going on there? It's kind of trippy. My ad block is clashing swords right now. Oh shit. Here lies the body of our beloved martyr, Anas Jamal al-Sharif. Anas, who was a voice of his people and paid with his life to convey the suffering of hungry children and bereaved mothers. Anas, son of Palestine, son of Jabalia camp, who once dreamed of leaving the camp to return to his hometown Ashkelon. O Allah, make this grave a garden from the gardens of paradise. I'm gonna leave it there. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you want to support the channel, like the stream and subscribe. Follow Translating Palestine. This is from the X account of Anas al-Sharif himself. Tweeted on his behalf by a colleague, of course. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.